Here we are, the post Game Awards. HP and Ford, we're here to again bring you your weekly wreckage with Damage Check, episode 7. How are you doing, Ford?
I'm doing well. I'm a little tired from the Game Awards still, because I totally went there and hung out with all the big celebrities, met Kojima and everything. It was really cool. Not really. I didn't do any of that. No, I'm doing all right. I spent some time watching a bunch of the trailers over again, and I've got some thoughts, to say the least, on a lot of this stuff.
So I know you've kind of like, you're backing a little bit, but I think you came to a perfect harmony, I guess, with it, of like, you do think you're still fine. Because at first I thought with your tweet, you had mentioned that you wish it were more for the devs. And I was like, damn, you even started the last podcast with, what are you expecting to see announced? So I'm like, oh, you knew that it was like that. And we can talk about that, actually, because I do agree with you. There needs to be more side for the devs, but at the same time, we do got a thing where what is it? It's a show by someone. So yeah, it's for the devs, but it's a show, so they can do it kind of however they want. To be honest, I mean, let's get popular, Ford. Let's start our own awards. That's just about the awards, because I'd be about it next year if we can like do something of where it's like you win the official Damage Check awards. I'd be about it.
Yeah, same.
Even on
I'm
a small
super
scale. So
the thing is I've got a couple thoughts on this, because initially right after it, I was like, I wish there was a little bit more for the devs, and I still hold to that. I do wish that the balance was a little bit better, and that's the feedback that I gave. Is that I just want the balance to be a little bit better. I understand what this show is. I understand this is not the DICE Awards or anything like that. This is not anything that's being voted on by like game dev peers. It's being voted on by journalists and like a few people on the panels.
right.
And so I understand what the show is, and I want that balance. But at the same time, man, Twitter has been like unusable for me, because it's just been like all these hot takes, and people be making it sound like Jeff spat on every single person that walked up that stage.
I have one thing to say that's proof that that's not the case, because first off, I think it's interesting. Now, it is sad to see that it's not as for the devs as much as you would like it to be. So 30 seconds up there to thank everybody might not be enough time, or however long it really was. Might not be enough time, but at the same time, that like I'm with you on the takes on Twitter. It's just kind of toxic and it's weird hot takes. But the thing is I saw a thing where it was talking about the directors at Nintendo for Zelda when they got up there and accepted their award. In the background, and apparently they said this for every developer, but specifically this one is why I don't mind this. So they look back there and they're like, oh well, this guy doesn't even speak English, and in the back it says, please wrap it up. And it's like, well, he's also have a translator, so he's losing a lot of extra time. They're telling him to wrap it up already, and he's got to translate, right? So it's like, people were upset about that, and they're like, you're disrespecting these amazingly talented people who are winning an award. And I would agree with that if they didn't already know what they were getting into. And I saw from his perspective, the perspective of the developers, they tweeted back out how grateful they were to even be there and be accepted, not only nominated, but accepted as an award. So they were grateful for even the little amount of time that they had. So they didn't feel disrespected. So I feel like if they didn't feel disrespected, was it really that bad, or is it just a Twitter take? It's just a Twitter take most of the time. Now, some of them might be validated, but they were also self-aware that he took too long last year. And so.
Yeah, and I think that's like the biggest takeaway you can take away from all of this is what I said originally, which is, we just need to strike a better balance.
Yeah.
This year it was a little skewed, but it's not the end of the world, people. Jeff didn't spit on every person.
Absolutely.
People coming out being like, Jeff hates games, he only cares about Hollywood. And I'm like, you guys, like, if you understand the history of Jeff and the Game Awards, that's the farthest thing from the truth.
I do think did this one have a lot more numbers than normal?
Viewership has been going up for Game Awards for pretty much every year that they've done it, except for like the first couple. Because the first couple, they kind of tried to do the whole DICE thing, where it was like more like there wasn't any, like, for lack of a better term, hype. I guess it was just
here's
awards, here's winning. A couple of like interviews with devs, and to a lot of people they like that, and that's great, but the general feedback was this is boring, essentially.
Right. So
it's just a lot of talking, not a lot of stuff going on.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, I'm with you. I don't think that was the case, and I think that's probably why we're getting some of these takes, we have so many people, right? Like there's I don't know how much it's grown this year versus like all the previous, because you said it's always growing, but I wonder what the intervals are. Is it like 5%, 5%, 5%, then this year was 10? Because I could see that this has to be a larger year, because it feels like it. Normally on Twitter, you just kind of see the award goes to whoever, and then it's done, and nobody really says much else. There's hot takes this time, even though there was some weird memes that came out of last year's, and et cetera, et cetera. I feel like there's a lot more social presence on this one, like between even the people.
Yeah, and I wonder if that is just kind of the. I feel like since last year, and I could be wrong about this, but I feel like in the social media sphere, like the engagement farm has just become such a massive like.
Oh well, yeah.
And so I wonder if that's why, like, no matter what it is, even if you're not even into it, like it's just another thing to get an engagement farm off of. And I do wonder if that's part of it.
That's got to be a pretty big part of it. That's a good point.
Yeah, where it's just like people, I imagine people literally log on and just like, what's the hot takes right now? Okay, cool. I got to make sure I get my hot take in so I can get that engagement farm going or something.
That's a good point.
And so I don't know, but overall, that's the main thing I wanted to say about the discourse. At least is it's not that serious, guys. It's a guy who decided he wanted to hand out some trophies.
Yeah,
You know, it was a good time. I'm hoping next year they strike a better balance, and I think that's about the only major feedback I have. Because as far as like the show and the pace, I never felt like it dragged, which historically
100%.
Game Awards have almost always dragged. Like by the time you get 2 hours in that thing, oh boy.
Well, not only that, like
really slow down.
For sure. And me and the guys, we would like watch the past few years. We'd pull it up on Discord and we'd all be playing games while it's happening, because we're kind of waiting in between. There's a little bit of a slog. Sometimes it's hype, sometimes it's chill. But this one, I feel like I had to be fully attentive. Obviously, we were recording it, but even if we weren't, I feel like I'm watching it versus like just kind of having it on in the background. Like, my game won that category. Okay, cool. All right, we move. Oh, that's a cool trailer, and you come back. But I feel like you said, they kept the ball rolling. It was hype after good announcement after award. They went through some of the smaller awards, but still gave them their adequate like full readings, and like obviously it's a little fast, and the acceptance speeches weren't too crazy, and I mean the performances.
Yeah, performances are great. I absolutely loved them.
That Final Fantasy performance, oh boy.
Dude, I went back and rewatched that, and I was blown away. I'm like, man, when she takes out the ear monitor and she just does it live, I'm like, holy shit.
Dude, she crushed it.
Yeah.
They all crushed it, but she
absolutely crushed it. Yeah, I thought it was a great show, and I'm excited to talk about a lot of the things that we got announced, because having now gone back and read up a little bit about some of these games, and also like just kind of general learning about them, there's a couple of these that I'm pretty damn excited for, honestly.
Yeah, I mean I'm with you. That's why I had you write down some of them for me, but I went back and I looked at the names. I didn't go back and watch many of the trailers, but yeah, there's a couple that I'm quite excited for. I feel like we have a little bit of overlap, you and I, and then some of the other ones that just I think if I had access, I would play everything that we saw for the most part. But now it's hard for me to purchase something that I might not, that I know I won't enjoy later. Like it's gonna be hard for me to purchase like Black Myth Wukong, because I want to play a game like that, but I don't know if I want to play it often enough to purchase it for probably $70. But I know people do. I mean, all your From Software boys, they're all gonna be wanting to play it. So.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
But it looks amazing.
Soulsborne people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I'm in the same boat where almost all of those I would at least give a shot. And it's less about resources of money, but more resources of time, because
that too.
There's just no way I would ever have enough time to play all these games. But there's at least a solid, like I'd say 10-ish that I'm like for sure gonna play.
Yeah.
And we can get into that whenever we get into like kind of doing the play-by-play. But yeah, there's especially the only thing that I'm a little disappointed in is I wish we got a little bit more stuff that was going to be coming out like early next year. I thought this would have been the place we would have gotten a lot of that stuff. And we did get some, but I feel like other than February of next year, we're looking a little barren right now, which is odd at this stage. Usually when we're at the end of this year, we usually are going into next year and kind of have a generally good idea of like a lot of what's coming out up to like May. I feel like this year we don't really know what's up to like March, and other than that, it's still very
Some of them,
kind of
yeah, but
cloudy.
we did get 3 or 4 pretty decent ones for January, February, and March.
Yeah, February especially is just stacked. Honestly, a lot of those games need to get out of February. Just go to like March, maybe in April, because there's just too many games in February right now.
Actually, you know what I'm thinking of now? Someone said Rise of the Ronin, but I'm pretty sure there's a Last Ronin Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game coming out, and that didn't get announced. So maybe it's next year.
Maybe, yeah. I think that they did announce that earlier this year that
But I
they were
don't
going to
know when
make it.
if they gave a year date on it or not.
I don't think they did. I'll look it up. The Last Ronin
Because I'd be kind of
game.
interested in that.
Yeah, no
Um,
date was provided. It was just announced saying that hey, it exists. So if I had to guess, that's probably a bare minimum a 2025 joint.
right. Well, I do want to go before we get too into the Game Awards stuff specifically. I do want to start off with mainly, since we did just start, just kind of go over what we've been playing. We don't have to get too into it unless you did want, because this is part of one of the topics is Avatar. I know you've been playing it, and that's actually something I wanted to talk about. So since you've been playing it, we can start the show off with what are you playing and what do you think about Avatar?
Yeah, I would actually love to talk about Avatar. So I put probably about, let's see if actually Ubisoft Connect will tell me exactly how many hours I've put in so far. But if I had to guess, it's probably around 4 to 6 hours into Avatar right now, maybe a little bit more. Um, and I am extremely enjoying this game. I definitely understand. So I think Metacritic it landed around like a 75. And I definitely understand like some people's reservations. I feel like even when it was coming out, I compared it as like, oh, it kind of looks like it's going to be a Far Cry clone, which I feel like is probably being a little bit disingenuous to it now that I've played it. It does have a similar kind of vibe of like that open world first person shooter. There are camps to go take out, but even then, like in Far Cry games, you walk 50 feet and you're going to trip over an enemy camp to take out. Whereas in this, it's really much more about the environment, which has surprised me is like the gameplay loop is really like exploring this world, gathering supplies from like, different flora and fauna, using that to go craft new items, using it to increase your kind of like rank, I guess, with the different clans that you interact with. It's very like almost antithetical in a way to like what Far Cry is, because it's very like environmental. Like anytime you go hunt like a creature, you are very respectful of it. Before you gather it, you like say like a little prayer thing, like thank you for these gifts. And it literally ranks you every time you kill a creature on how like merciful and how like
That's an
clean the kill
interesting
was and
take.
stuff.
I like
Like
that.
it's very like, even like when you're gathering supplies, it's not like, oh, walk up to this tree, hit E and I grab the thing and then the things in my inventory. It literally has like basically like almost like a lock picking mini game style thing for every type of plant that you can
To kind of be
gather.
gentle and respect it and stuff. Like I
Exactly.
love
So
that. That is
so
interesting.
there'll be like a seed on a tree and you grab it, and that seed specifically, like it stops the first few you do, it gives you a hint of, oh, you need to pull it this way or that way or this way, whatever it might be. But then eventually it takes that away, and so you have to remember, oh, this is this type of plant.
It
I
actually
want to
puts you
pull it.
in that like intimate
Yeah.
relationship with the game.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
like
so
that.
this seed, you're like, oh, I need to pull it this way and then twist it this way or something to get the most pristine pick of that. Well, I'm about to sneeze. Hold on. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, so you'll do that for every type of plant. There's only one type of plant that does not do that. and that is the wood sticks you get to make arrows. Like those are just run up, pressy, and grab it. But everything else has a very particular like picking pattern that you kind of have to memorize, and like you don't even necessarily have to memorize it, but like if you watch your hand, you know, you'll grab it, and if you watch your hand on the screen, you can kind of see where the tension lies like in the animation. And so that's what I've been using to kind of try to guide me, is like, oh,
I
I'm pushing
love
it this
that.
way, there's a lot of tension, okay, let me try this way, oh, okay, that's the right way, let me pull it that way. And so yeah, it's just really interesting, like it it's this really interesting, like very immersive experience. And like this isn't even getting into like just how stunning the world is. Dude, this has got to be one of the most beautiful games I've ever played in my life. And I'm only like, my rig's decent, but like, you know, it's showing its age at this point. I have a 2080 Super. So I'm running this game on medium. And even then, man, this game is astoundingly beautiful, especially like the rain effects and like all the weather effects that you can run into. And the cool thing is, going back to the plants and even all the stuff you hunt, like the quality of those plants and everything are affected by the weather patterns. You know, is it a dry day? Okay, this plant is a little bit different, you're going to get this quality. Whereas if it's a raining day, you know, the quality's a lot better. Oh, it's a foggy day, so the quality's a lot worse or a lot better. Like a lot of that kind of stuff plays into it as well. And so it really kind of incentivizes you to learn Pandora, like the weather, the creatures, the plants. Like it really incentivizes you to start to try to understand how they all work together.
Now, games like that do these types of like amazing things where you're like, at first you experience that and you go through it a couple times, and you're like, this is amazing. Do you think it ever becomes monotonous, or do you think that by the time it gets to that point, you might be done with it, or you might have beaten it by then? So where it's not too grindy, where you're like, can I just have the tree right now? Or do you think that it's a good balance, like a good time? Because like, are you going to beat the game soon? Does it feel like too much?
Oh no, dude, this game's probably gonna take, with the way that I'm playing it, because I am playing it like very, like they have an exploration mode where it turns off all like there's no like diamond in the sky that's like, oh, go over here to go to the next quest. Like I've turned all that off into their exploration mode that they have. So all you really have is a compass. And all the quests you get will be like, oh yeah, it should be you know, southwest of this landmark or something like that. And so you have to explore. And so because of that, I'm playing this like I'm not doing any fast travel at all. I'm literally, you know, even if I got to walk across the map, granted, I'm not that far into the map yet. Like the map is huge and I've explored a very small bit of it. But I'm like, you know, walking across the map, I'm taking everything in. As far as the grindy aspect, I think it depends on the type of gamer you are, because if you are picking every single thing that you come across, then I could see it getting a little monotonous towards the end. But the game doesn't really incentivize you to pick every single thing you're coming across. If anything, it kind of de-incentivizes it, where it's like you don't have a ton of space in your pouches and everything. So it's kind of de-incentivizing you from like, oh, I'm going to go hunt like 50 of these things in a row, because there's not really a point. Like the game is telling you, hey, that's wasteful. You don't need to
Right.
kill 50 of these things, because you don't need 50 of these supplies. Like anything you want to craft is always one supply of a certain category. So if I want to craft like a chess piece thing, right? It's not going to be like, oh yeah, you need like 60 of this creature's horns. No, you need one of that creature's horns and maybe one of this other creature or this fauna product horn, and that's it. One and one, and you can craft that item. The
I like
important
that.
thing is the quality of the items, which is where the whole picking thing and like knowing the weather patterns and all
That's
that stuff
really
comes
cool.
into play. So instead of being like, oh, I need to go kill 50 of these things so I can craft a thing later, what it really should be and how it's connecting with me right now is I'm like, oh, it's raining right now. Oh shit, I should go to the bamboo, you know, forest kind of, or the rainforest type area, because I know that one plant gives me superior quality during rain. So then I can go just pick that one or two that I need, and then I can go craft the stuff that I need.
That's really cool.
It's honestly like I've never played a game that has like really baked in environmentalism into the game design, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's what
Like
the
it,
show is, or the movie is about as well. So I mean, you got,
yeah.
and so that's a beautiful thing.
And
And it's
that's the
not just
other
a
thing
copy
too.
paste, you know, like, or not copy paste, but you know, when they years ago they would try to make movie or games based on these movies, and it was just like a quick sell point. So it'd be like ding, da ding, da ding, da ding, ding, and it's just like you as the
Yeah.
avatar running off a tree, and it's like collecting coins or something. And it's like blink, blink, blink. It's like, what even is this? It doesn't even make sense. So it sounds like this is very true to the not just the show's narrative or the message, but more of like the environment and the exploration of the experience that is Pandora.
And the underlining lore as well.
That's
And so
really
like
cool.
that's the other thing is like they like ultra respect the lore. Like I don't know the lore that well, but like the put it this way, in any other game, like you said, any other Avatar game, there would have been currency, right? You know, you would have gotten Navi bucks that
Basically,
you would have
yeah.
been able to go buy things from the, you know, from the different camps and everything, right?
Yeah.
In this, the Navi don't have a currency. So literally the game is all about like what you do for the clan. So you literally like your currency is like essentially like, let's call them favor points.
Like
I
your
can't remember what
contribution kind of
exactly are.
deal. Yeah.
But yeah, it's exactly your contribution. So like they literally have contribution buckets that you can put your extra items into. Instead of selling them, you're contributing them to the clan.
I love
And
that.
that increases like a bar that eventually gives you enough contribution points essentially. I can't remember what they're called, but you essentially increase your rank with the clan, and then you can just go up to people and be like, "Oh, I could really use this bow." And they're like, "Oh yeah, here you go." You know, you have enough rank that you can get this bow, or you can get
That's
this
amazing.
recipe or
So you're
stuff.
converting what you've already done instead of going out and, oh well, I didn't need this. You're converting that. It's like it's sifting
Yes.
through. You're just like, oh, I didn't need these things that were lower tier. I want something that's higher tier. Well, you put in enough lower tier. We'll give you the thing, kind of deal.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah. Instead of just being like, oh yeah, I killed the thing and I got 20 avatar bucks or whatever. Like,
Right.
and so that's why I say like the respect of the lore and kind of the like really baked in message, like it really makes it the almost complete opposite of a Far Cry. Sure, from a gameplay perspective, you could make some comparisons like with the camps. And even then, like I've played for, you know, like I said, around 6 hours. I've done 2 camps. And the cool thing about the camps too, kind of shifting back to the environmentalism thing, it's not just like, cool, you beat a camp, like whoop-de-doo-dah, here you go. It actually restores a lot of the area around it.
That's
And
cool.
so you can get new plants and new creatures in that area because you've now reclaimed it for Pandora.
I love that.
And so it's just got this really awesome like cyclical nature where like I legitimately just find myself exploring, like no real goal. I'm just kind of going around. I'm like, oh, that looks cool. Let me go grab that. Like, let me go grab that. Like, and even like you know, in most games like this, you know, you would have like your, you know, little X-ray vision sort of thing. And they have something similar here, but once again, it's really baked into the experience. And so it's not like a broken, like, oh, I press Q and now I know everything that's around me. Like you actually have to be methodical with how you use it and actually work on, you know, placement and where you're looking. And it doesn't even tell you like exactly where it's at. It'll kind of just give you vague, like, oh yeah, I sense something in this general area. It's not going to be like, oh yep, there's the thing, there you go get it.
I love that. Because then it's like you got, I mean, I think I would love a game like that. I might actually have to pick it up because you're selling it really well right now. Because that is kind of what I loved about like Breath of the Wild. Because Breath of the Wild I played this year. Tears of the Kingdom I obviously also played this year, came out this year. But I played them back to back, and that's why I got lost in them so easily. Is because the exploration. I didn't feel the need to YouTube or Google anything. I felt like I wanted to explore the world that we were in. And even though I know at the point I'm like, oh, when I find a cave now I can find a bubble frog to use those gems, and I'm like, but where are the caves? Even then, every time I went into one, because I knew that I could get rewarded by turning those in with new gear. Like I got a bokoblin helmet and then the mystic set. And I'm like, well, I want the full thing, so I need to go get more bubble frogs. So I'm searching out caves, and on the way to the caves, I find a piece of a dungeon or something. And I'm like, there's just always something to be done. You see the dragons in the sky, this and that. That's what captivated me. So you're selling me on this Avatar game because that's what I loved about Zelda, and I think that that's what I would love about that. Is like you actually get this experience.
Yes, that's a great way of putting it. It's an experience. It's not just a game where it's like, all right, cool, I see the 40 camps on the map, let me go boom, 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 boom. Like,
right.
The game is literally telling you like, hey, slow down, just walk around, like enjoy what is happening around you.
I love that.
I really, really love it. The one critique I would give the game right now, and it's even hard to kind of give this critique because like I can't expect them to do the opposite, but the voice acting is a little not great sometimes. Overall, it's still serviceable. It's not awful, but I guess it's just weird. Like when you're in these like very, very true to lore, like Navi, homes and camps and everything like that. And then like they're talking just like basic English to you. They're like, oh yeah, let's go do the thing over here. It's like, it kind of makes like a weird disconnect, but at the same time, like you can't expect the whole cast of, voice actors to learn a useless language of Navi, which I don't even know if they've like baked out the whole language to like make that immersion even more. But that's the only like slight immersion breaker is the voice acting paired with like kind of the environment you're in. It's just kind of like sometimes disjointed.
Could we not set, so like some movies do this sometimes, right? That are English made movies, or at least because that's what I'm familiar with. It'd be an English made movie, but they start in a different country or in a different language, or even with an alien language sometimes, right? And what will happen is they start with like, it's usually an alien language because we could, you could just watch a foreign movie if you needed to, but it would be like an alien language, and it would start off. And what you could do in a game like this, where maybe your protagonist and whoever their best friend is or whatever, they're having a conversation like in Navi language. And then as you're listening, it kind of like pans in, and as it's panning in, it just switches to English. So it's like you're hearing it through the lens of what you need to hear it through. So they're speaking Navi to each other. So at least it doesn't break that immersion. Some shows do that. So
yeah,
I can see them doing something like that.
Yeah, something like that would have probably helped. And even like the one thing I kind of wish they did, which being Ubisoft, I'm kind of surprised they didn't, is just throw in Navi words here and there,
Right,
just kind of like sprinkle it in where it's like, instead of saying like, damn it, sprinkle in like whatever the Navi word is for damn it, because they do that in the Assassin's Creed games where like, yeah, you're in, 1100 BC.
And they'll say gods or something.
Yeah, exactly. They'll say something different in that language of the area that you're in. So I'm surprised they didn't do something like that. Maybe that comes up a little bit later once I get further into the game. But otherwise, like, I'm really enjoying it. I do think it's probably not an experience for everybody. Like, if you are looking for an action heavy game, akin to a Far Cry, I think this probably isn't going to hit for you. But if you're looking for something that actually is, honestly takes a lot of cues from that Breath of the Wild kind of design, but in, a different genre of game, I honestly think that this is probably a pretty good, pretty good game to slot into like that first person style of that genre. In fact, even, Breath of the Wild has the whole coming out of the cave moment, right? And seeing the Breath of the Wild. It does a similar thing in this where like you come out of like this base and you see Pandora and you see the breath of Pandora essentially. And I'm like, damn, that's a great trope. Games need to use that trope more often. When you got a big world to explore, like have you come out of the cave into the light, and then it's like boom, like here's the giant world that you're going to be exploring.
Love that. It's a good intro.
It's a great intro, especially like when you know you got a world that's worth showing. Do that. I
like that they kind of kept it the same way in Tears of the Kingdom. Like in Breath of the Wild, you come out of the cave, you've been dead, or sleeping for 100 years. Come out of the cave, open it up. Wide shot, right? And then they did it in Tears of the Kingdom, but it was the opposite. You start in the Sky Islands and you dive down and you see Hyrule in its entirety as you're diving. And so they did, like, that's awesome.
That's true. That was a great moment in Tears of the Kingdom as well. It's a great intro. Just keep using that until we get tired of it, then stop using it.
Pasta said Hogwarts had a really good opening to the castle.
Nice. Yeah, so games are learning. You got to have that strong opening, get people hooked in, But yeah, so right now I would probably put Avatar around, for me, a 5 out of 5, but I'm a big Avatar head. If you're not a big Avatar head, probably a 4 out of 5.
I take that as gospel. I would love to play it now that you've sold it on me, so I want to play it.
Hell yeah.
Anything else you've been playing for the week? We had a big week. I didn't know if you had any time to play games. We had a big news week, so...
Yeah, we had a big week. I mean, I played a little bit of Lethal Company with the friends.
I finally did as well.
So how did that go?
We loved it. We had a blast because last week when you asked me, I'd never barely even heard of it. we ended up paying for it. You sold us on, or sold me on the $10 that my other friends mentioned it. Me, Pasta, and a couple others were playing it, and man, it was so fun. And I'm actually going to probably be uploading a video on the Heretic Place channel on YouTube relatively soon. I want to edit it, but I want to edit them down to just the funny moments. I don't want to give any dull moments, but there really wasn't a dull moment because we were having a blast. So definitely played some Lethal Company, and you were right, it is very fun, and we didn't get very far at all, and it's still super fun. So
I feel like it takes like a pretty good amount of, like, once you kind of get into the groove, you'll start getting scrapped like nobody's business. But yeah, it does take a bit to get into, but I'm super happy to hear that you had a good time.
Yeah, and we love role playing with it too. We got a guy staying at base, and he's like, "Hey, you got a copy?" And we leave it on. I mean, just to spoil a little really funny moment last night, we were playing, and we got up against the eyeless dog, who you can't be loud around or whatever. So there were 3 of us were in. One of us was at man in base, and so 3 of us that were in, I was like, guys, stop, quiet, it's the eyeless dog, I just saw him right in front of me. So I'm like, and they're crouching, so I start crouching, and we start whispering, we start being quiet, and we go out of the room, and we all not saying anything, and you just hear over the radio, "Hey, you guys got a copy?" And I was like, we just saw the eyeless dog, we're trying to be quiet. And then he goes, "Copy." And and we lost it. It was so funny. So just moments like that are just great. But yeah.
I think the role playing is like almost key to like having a good time with it.
Was
like
so
we
fun.
did the same thing where we came up with like call signs for each other, call signs for like the dangers that we see on the map and stuff like that. Like, it's been a fantastic time. I'm super excited to see where the game goes, because it's still early access, and like the guy basically said like he did not expect even like a fraction of this. So I'm excited to see where the game eventually goes and how it gets updated.
Yeah, or if he goes to a new project of similar value and experience, and then maybe hires a couple people, because he made a lot of money, it seems. So
yeah, I hope so. I hope it goes far.
He did a great job. Solo dev, right?
Solo dev.
That's interesting.
No, who knows? I mean, with how much money they've made now, who knows now?
Well, now, but I mean, but then it was. Yeah, that's awesome.
People. Yeah. But other than that, didn't really get to play too much else. Just Avatar and some Lethal Company, and that's about it. I played a little bit of Legends of Runeterra, the new expansion for the League of Legends card game. Not much to say there. It's League of Legends card game. If you're into it, you're into it.
I was into it for a while, but then I always go back, because I was also into Hearthstone, and I always end up going back to Magic the Gathering. I just love it too much.
Yep.
But I get where its value is, because I enjoyed it a lot, the Runeterra. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I played right out. I mean, I have a couple, but RuneScape, just as always, just kind of grinding leagues. But I slowed down a lot. And then Destiny, love the dungeon, love the challenges. Yeah. We did the bow medieval glaive sword challenge in the dungeon. Nice. Very fun, fun challenge. And then we played the finals that dropped this week.
So how is that? Because I've heard mixed things.
Have you played it before at all with the beta?
I have not played it at all before.
So, I mean, I don't know where you're hearing mixed things, because I mean, I don't think this is the next game, but it is a very fun game, and you would think a game that's not the next game might not be very competitive, but I feel like every game it just oozes esports. Like, I mean, it's obviously kind of set up with it, like, right, because it's a game show. Like, whenever you're actually playing the game, they'll be like, "Oh, blue team has the lead. Let's see what they can do next." Like, so it's like a very game show aesthetic and arcadey feel. So it's like made for esports. But I think that it's the next hotness? I don't know, but I love it. Me and my friends have been playing it. We love it. We played the beta. We loved it then, and it's free. This is what I can say. If you like esports and you like fast-paced shooters, you will absolutely love it based on that alone. It is absolutely free, and you have access to all characters and all gadgets, or half the gadgets, like relatively or instantly, and then you can just earn points as you play to unlock all the other stuff, and you can't pay for any of that stuff. It's just how much you play. To a certain point, you'll probably just get to like the Call of Duty level where you have everything unlocked. And then the skins are just the only thing that costs money. So I think they did it right. I actually like that model. I mean, it's the League of Legends model. I like that. I'm totally down with that. And it's a fun game.
So you said you don't know if it's the next game, quote unquote, big quotes on that. Is there anything that it could do to become that, you think?
I think it has.
Is it missing something?
And well, this will kind of go into what I wanted to ask you for a friend earlier. So in my opinion, it's in its own league. Like, it's not, I think it shares the same space, in my opinion, as something like Halo, but but the gameplay itself feels much different, but the core gameplay loop feels the same. Longer time to kill, like high time to kills, like it takes longer to kill somebody, and then so that's a lot of teamwork. So long time to kill, teamwork, objectives, and gadgets that can influence your teamwork and your outplays and stuff like that. So there's a lot going on within that wheelhouse right there, and that's a very Halo thing to be happening. Or similarly, Overwatch, but Overwatch, each character feels very distinct because they are they're kind of stuck to who they are. Everyone in this game still has a gun to be using. I mean, there are like RPGs and grenade launchers and stuff like that, but ultimately it's still a gun. So everyone feels like kind of like a Call of Duty-esque character, but you might be the small character, so they're more agile, or you might be the big character, they're more tanky, and they have tanky abilities. So like a shield versus the medium character might have a healing gun, whereas the very nimble one, the smaller one, might have a grapple gun to move around the map faster. So you get little things to help you out, but ultimately everyone is like a Call of Duty character in the world of a Halo type thing. So it doesn't feel necessarily. So the reason I don't think it's the new hotness is because it's not competing with anything, because there's not anything in its space. But that's why I also think it could be its own new hotness, where it's like, oh, you have like Halo is popular because it would share a space with Halo, I feel like, and we don't have one right now because Halo, I mean, it's doing well, but it could be doing better. It's no Halo 3 days, and it's not, you know, the Halo 2, Halo 3 days. But you know, and so where I was going to ask you about a game specifically, and I didn't think it was going to come up this early, but do you know anything about Shadowrun, the old Shadowrun back in the day?
Yeah, the old kind of like CRPG games. Yep.
No, the first person shooter.
Oh, vaguely, yes. I'm more familiar with like the
well, they have like the tabletop series, and then they have the RPG stuff.
The tabletop, and then they CRPG. I don't think I ever played the first person one.
So there was a first person shooter game it was basically Overwatch before Overwatch came out. Mm-hmm. And it was way ahead of its time, like way too ahead of its time. And I feel like this game is so akin to that type of play style, maybe a little bit different, you know, knock it down a little bit, but it's very, very similar. Maybe Finals might be a little bit faster gameplay, but Shadowrun definitely would give it a run for its money if it were to come out nowadays. And I didn't know if you knew who those devs were, so that's what my buddy was asking. He's like, do you think he would know who the devs were, and do you think we could ever see another Shadowrun or something like that?
I doubt you see another Shadowrun first-person shooter, because from my loose knowledge of it, it was a cult classic, but like the CRPG ones have overshadowed it greatly, and so I doubt you would see that come back. As far as the devs, I don't even see devs. Fazza Studios is no longer around, so okay. Probably not. But looking at this right now, it kind of reminds, the other thing that it kind of reminds me of is from kind of the same era, Brink, back on the PS3, which was like a parkour shooter, like light parkour, kind of another game that was pretty ahead of its time. But I think that this kind of like arena shooter genre is kind of ripe for, I think, another big competitor. And so I think the Finals probably is going to be that. If it can obviously keep a player base, who knows? With these types of live service games, I mean, these live service kind of multiplayer games, I mean, they can have 100,000 people playing one day, and then the next day they've got 1,000.
Right. And I think that might be what happens to the Finals, just because, not because it's bad by any means. I think that it just doesn't hold enough weight in the world that we're in. And I think it does personally, because I would rather play this than Apex or Fortnite, 100%. But Apex and Fortnite and Modern Warfare, or sorry, like Warzone, they're just too popular. And then we also have other just bangers out there that, I mean, people are playing Among Us still. People are playing Lethal Company now. Then a new game comes out. Then the new game comes out. The League of Legends is still super popular. Dota is still super popular. So you got all of these games competing for these people's attention. It's going to be impossible to get, unless we got a new wave and like maybe like because I think it's good enough to stand on its own. It's just that there's so much weight all around it with like, I mean, Fortnite's making massive moves, pulling people back. It's tough. But I mean, I would love to see it succeed because it looks great. Or not, it looks great, but it has been great.
I wonder, because based off what you're saying, it basically sounds like it is going to fall off if it doesn't keep on getting new stuff. It's kind of that same old song and dance we get with a lot of live services.
Yeah, but I think this one has the most chance to succeed.
Okay. I hope so, because I think it also looks cool, and I do want to play it. But
it's a sweat fest.
Is it?
And I like my sweat fest, man. But I mean, it's so popular right now, and it's free. You're gonna get the people that are just in there, you know. But the game mode inherently is a sweat fest because of the game modes that they set. I mean, they set it up to be hype. You're never really behind. You're kind of always reaching for the goal. And I think that, I mean, teams can sweep, I'm sure, but it always feels good to play it.
I mean, it's popping off right now. So I just checked Steam charts.
Yeah.
Got 155K players playing right now.
Okay, there we go. I mean, we're going to add to that tonight. So
if they could keep up a trajectory of this, is because like anytime games come out, they're always going to have a ton of players. If they don't fall below like 50K, like 40 to 50K, I think it'll be okay. I think it'll probably thrive and be able to live long enough to get more content updates and eventually get more people in. And I think it does, you know, to your point, I think it does kind of fit a slot that no other game's really fitting right now.
Which is a good and a bad thing, right? You know?
Yeah, it's a bad thing because there's not really anything to build off of, but it's a good thing because now you get to kind of be the first one to get the biggest
pioneer.
Yeah, because no one's really been doing this whole like destructible environments other than
that's
like
where that sets it apart from like Halo, because I think the game itself overall feels like Halo. There's a lot of team shotting, there's a lot of objective, there's that experience of like this isn't the arena shooter experience, that's what it is at its core, the esports arena shooter, and that's literally what it was kind of built on. Because I mean, you can even, like I said, hear it in the announcer, the arcade-ness style of it with the coins and everything too, and the audio is great and everything feels epic when you're doing it. So I think it is Halo just with destructible environment, and I mean, we do need that in the space because I mean, Halo's not doing it. I wish it was. It's doing okay, but it's not.
And I mean, even like brain fart. Even Battlefield, I mean, hasn't really been doing all that hot lately. So this could probably get a lot of those players, even though different games, because obviously Battlefield is huge maps, huge, huge amount of players and everything. I wouldn't be surprised if some people would really just want those destructible environments and end up popping over to here.
Yeah, could be. I mean, because that sets up so much like extra, because you just add the words destructible environment and it sets up so much extra counterplay and stuff. I mean, we've been playing where there's tiered buildings. There's like five tiered buildings, and we'd be on like the third or fourth tier, and the objective's on the fifth tier, and we had a guy like blow a hole in the floor so the objective would fall down to us so we could take it.
That's really cool. That's really creative.
Yeah.
Like emergent gameplay. That's really
and
cool.
You can like even build stuff back up. Like you get goo walls and stuff, and you can surround yourself in it. Or I had a guy, I think it was Pasta, whenever we took the objective, he put a jump pad under the objective. So the objective's just bouncing, you know? And while it's bouncing, they can't take it. So they had to destroy our jump pad. And it's like, there's like this, there's so much nuance to the gameplay. It's very fun.
I'm gonna have to give that a try tonight. I'm gonna have to take a break from Avatar and Pandora and have to hop in there and check it out.
You won't be disappointed, especially if you're sweaty. I'm sweaty.
I like to be sweaty sometimes.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Capital G gamer, you know.
And that's all of the notes that I have for what we're playing. That's the top of the show stuff. We can go back into the Game Awards if you wanted to cut through that, because that is the biggest meat of our podcast today. I do have a couple other things to touch on, but we can. You want to start with that, or do you want to go with the smaller leads? Because all these other things we're just touch and go.
let's touch on the smaller stuff, and then we'll hop into the game. We'll save Game Awards as just the big chunk at the end, and then we'll pop out of here.
Okay, so here's a couple small things that I have. We can literally just touch and go. Halo show teases a second season. According to PC Gamer, it's actually teasing actual Halo this time. So take that for what you will if you want a Halo show. I don't really care personally, but...
Did you watch the first season?
No, I just saw clips. I saw like the first episode, and then I watched the final fight, where he actually goes into his HUD, and it's like actually Halo, and it's like, that's cool. I thought it was cool. It looked weird. It wasn't that good, I feel like, it could have been better. But we've already gotten some really good live action Halos. Why not just emulate those?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because
they're like web shows, but
I guess my question is because I know that Halo, the first season, like really veers off of like character wise, story wise.
I mean, they even show his helmet out of his helmet immediately. It's just a little weird.
Yeah. And so I wonder, no, they say the second season is going to be more Halo, but I'm also like, are they too far gone to pivot back into that? I mean, apparently not, according to PC Gamer, but that is one thing I'd be interested to see once it does come out.
Yeah, but does it revitalize itself? I don't think so. I think it's just for core fans. And even then, those guys are the ones that are kind of hating on it in the first season. So all you're doing is redeeming for them. You're not bringing anyone new in, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like that ship's already kind of sailed.
Yeah.
Though who knows? I mean, game adaptions are, picking up a lot of steam.
They have, and that's what we were talking about before. I keep mentioning Assassin's Creed. I feel like that was almost the turning point of it. Because people, you either love or hate Resident Evil movies. And I personally liked the movies, but I understand how the first one is the only one that's actually... Besides the cartoon on Netflix, the anime.
Yeah.
Or no, there's actually a live action too, I think. But either way, some of them recently have been taking it. But yeah, so that's one of the things. That's really all we have to know about is that it might be actually Halo. And that'll be good to hear. I mean, look, I'll check it out. So, and then
if a good clip gets on Twitter, maybe I'll see about it.
Right there, you go. So the next one I got is GTA 6 and our thoughts. I mean, there's really not much to go off of other than it's exactly what we expected, but just a little bit better, like they always are. Good on Rockstar, kicked ass. They did break the internet. They were #1 on trending, fastest growing video in a long time, I believe. 100 million a day. I mean, damn, it did great. Yeah.
Obviously, it was a huge moment. And yeah, I watched it, and the video ended, and I went like,
"That's GTA.
That's GTA."
Yep.
It didn't really.
It didn't really show off much besides the graphics and the engine, of how many things we could have on screen. Other than that, I mean, it's GTA and it looks great.
Yeah, it didn't really excite me a ton, but I think that's just because it is just being like, hey, we're GTA.
We're officially announcing it because it was really just an announcement. I would love to see more gameplay, like actual gameplay instead of in-engine cutscenes.
I think my biggest disappointment is I think I would have been fine with. I think I would have been more happy with it, or happier with it, I should say, if it was coming out a lot sooner. But it's coming out 2025, and I'm just kind of like, why did we announce this so early? Then, like, you guys could have announced this like 2 months ahead of a time, and then released it, and still made all the money in the world.
Yeah.
And so I don't know why it's just weird that we're going to be talking about this now for like probably a year and a half, if not more.
Yeah.
And so a little weird with that, but I mean, at least we know it exists.
Maybe they're double dipping because if they did it 2 months in advance, that it's coming, and then that's what we're all waiting for. So they're not waiting for another trailer. I bet in about a year before 2 months before it's released, we're going to get this fat gameplay trailer, and they're going to blow up the internet again. So they're double dipping. I mean, that's smart. They're making their YouTube money.
That's fair. Yeah. Make that YouTube money, make that advertisement money, whatever other money you could bank. That's fair. But yeah, I'm definitely just in mode like, all right, it's GTA and I'll wait for it to come out. I don't really need much else.
And then something else that I wanted to mention, just for everyone to go check out. We don't need to really show it on screen or anything, but a guy made a very Studio Ghibli true to their studio Zelda fan make video from Ocarina of Time. We didn't mention it. It's a few weeks old. I definitely recommend going to YouTube and watching it. It's like a 30-minute video, but the cutscene itself is only like 3 to 5 minutes, maybe. It might be longer than that, but it's. But then after that, he like plays in because he made it in Unity game engine, and so he's using like the Unreal Engine, and so he's you can play it, but he made a cinematic camera so he could make a film in it, and then he walked around in it. And the walking around is a little weird because it's like this Studio Ghibli style visuals with you walking around playing a game. It just, the frames look off when you're playing it as a game, but cinematic itself looked great and it was beautiful, and I would love to see that style Zelda come out on Netflix or something. That would be like a dream.
You're gonna have to send me that link because that seems really interesting to me.
I will send
especially
it to
like
you.
it being built in and everything.
Actually, you know what? I'll put it in chat so nobody has to search for it.
Perfect. That is exactly what I want. Yeah, that sounds awesome. It's almost like they probably should make a animated Legend of Zelda game instead of a live action Zelda, or not game, animated Zelda movie instead of a live action Zelda movie.
There you go, guys. That will take you to the Ocarina of Time Studio Ghibli Unreal Engine 5. Very good. It looks great. I want this more than I want the live action at this point. It looks gorgeous.
Same. Yeah, I would rather have this than the live action.
Yeah. So and that's all for that one. I mean, other than our thoughts on it, you haven't watched it yet, but I mean, it's great.
Awesome.
Awesome. Here's something that I think you might be interested in, and I'm very interested in as well. And I know a couple people who are. Did you see that Phil at Xbox announced or mentioned a new Banjo-Kazooie?
Oh man. I want it so bad, but
You don't want another nuts and bolts situation?
I don't want another nuts and bolts, and I don't think we'd get another nuts and bolts, but I also just don't think it's gonna happen. I just don't know, like, how is it gonna be worth Microsoft's time? And that's what makes me think that it's not going to happen. Is like Banjo-Kazooie is a beloved name, but the amount of money they would have to put into it to make that game now, the only thing I could see is like a remake. If they did a remake of Banjo-Kazooie 1, honestly, I'm down. I think that would be a good, almost kind of the same way they did, like Activision did with Crash Bandicoot. Holy shit, I just connected two dots. They should give Banjo-Kazooie, because Rare's not going to make it. Rare has better things to do than make Banjo game right now. They should have Toys for Bob, the team that did the Crash and Spyro remakes. They should have them do the make a Banjo remake.
Interesting. What is Rare working on other than, because I know they split a little bit because part of them, it's like Rare at the Sea basically, because they do Sea of Thieves, because it's not the same exact devs at Sea of Thieves that work on their other stuff.
The game that we know of that they're working on right now is I believe it's called Everdell, and it's apparently gone through a lot of development hell there, because it got announced a while ago, and there was like some insider stuff that came out that apparently it has been going that great, to the point that I believe it got restarted. Like they restarted development on the whole game. So I don't know when. Let me actually, Everdell, when was the last time? Or maybe it's not Everdell. What? No, it's not Everdell. New Rare game, Everwild. That's it. Everdell is a board game that I have played. Everwild, yeah, it got announced back in 2019, and yeah, apparently it has just not been going great. And we haven't really heard about it since, I think, the original announcement, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I believe that we haven't really seen a ton of it. But also, I don't know if you'd want to put Rare on a Banjo game just because of the history of it, because they just don't make those games anymore, you know?
Right.
Like the people who made those games, they went off and made Playtonic games, which made Ukulele.
Right.
And so I just don't see them actually having Rare do that now. I feel like Rare's just in a completely different spot. Like,
I can see that,
despite the history.
Yeah, it's just interesting that Phil mentioned it.
Yeah, because I think he knows that people want it. Like a lot of people have talked about it.
I mean, of course we want these 3D action platformers. Like, I mean, give them back. I mean, Odyssey did so well. Give me another action platformer. I think we can get. I think you can get something out of Banjo in a world where just not even 5 or 6 years ago, Odyssey and A Hat in Time were like the hotness.
Yeah, but I think so. I think that's kind of the hard part is Banjo fits between the two of those, right? But Banjo's going to cost closer to the amount of money that Mario Odyssey did, like for the developer, for them to develop it. It's going to
But
cost
not
about
make
the same
as
amount,
much.
but not make nearly as much money as Mario Odyssey
That's
did.
fair.
And so that's why I feel like we haven't gotten it yet, is because they probably look at the numbers and look at what the return's probably going to be. They probably go, it's not really worth taking one of our teams and doing this. Unless, that's why I say Toys for Bob, because you're talking about a team that already did it for 2 classic games. 2 classic game series, I should say, because the Spyro remake was all 3 of the original PS1 games.
Yep.
And same with the Crash
Crash
remake.
was 1 through 3. The Insane Trilogy. I haven't played that one, but I played the Spyro one.
Yeah, and those were fantastic. Like they did an
really
amazing
were.
job bringing that up to modern standards. And
I
so
agree.
now that they own Activision, it's like, come on, man, like that's magic right there. Give Banjo and Banjo-Tooie to Toys for Bob and have them go at it and make the Banjo remakes. I think that would go over super, super well.
So you think that's where Phil would be leaning, is remakes, if he is not new?
Yeah, I don't think you get a new title until you prove that there's an audience, because right now you cannot prove that there's an audience.
So the remake would gauge the audience, and then we can go from there.
100%. They did a similar thing with Crash, where Activision later on quite literally said that they did the remakes to kind of see where the IP was at and if it was worth making a new one. They released the Insane Trilogy, and it turns out, hey, it's probably worth making a new one. So they went and made Crash 4. It's About Time. And so
I never played that. I want to play that.
Yeah, same. I haven't played it yet either, but clearly they saw that with the Insane Trilogy, there was an audience for it. And the great thing about doing those remakes is you're essentially creating the framework for any new title that you would make. So Banjo,
so it's a lot less of a risk.
Exactly.
And it's a gauge, so you're using a tool as a risk, and then you're capitalizing on it if it did well. That's a good idea.
Exactly. And so that's what I think would happen. I think before we ever get a new Banjo-Kazooie, it's going to be a Banjo-Kazooie remake. But like I said, I'm super down for that. I would absolutely 100% play that.
They could call it Banjo Renewey.
Oh man, that'd be amazing. Oh,
hire me,
Banjo-Kazooie Renewey, yeah, or something like that. That'd be amazing. Hire him, Microsoft.
I just gave them $100,000 idea at least.
Yeah, so I think it will happen. I don't think Phil is saying, because Phil has gone on record before this being like, yeah, probably not anytime soon. And so him now saying like, hey, Banjo people, I hear you. To me, that says that something is happening. Yeah. Something somewhere is happening. And I'm really hoping it's Toys for Bob. Oh man, that would be so good. Hype. I'm already hyped up for something that might not exist.
I love it. So that was that, and I'm glad you had some insight on that one, because I didn't have much. I just saw that he mentioned it, and that's it. So I'm glad you had more. And the other thing I wanted to touch on was the Fallout TV show. We saw the trailer. What do you think? Looks good.
I think it looks great. Amazon's been doing a pretty good job with their TV shows lately.
Yeah.
And so I think this is kind of no exception. I think it looks pretty stellar. I think they've nailed a lot of the vibe of the show. I mean, in the trailer at least. We'll have to see how the actual show goes. I do especially like that it is in an area that we have not been in before. The vault is in LA, if I'm not mistaken. So it's away from everything that we've been from in the games, which is awesome, because now they get to tell their own kind of story without having to, focus on, oh, but in my playthrough, this thing happened to this character and blah, blah, blah. Like, we can just ignore all that. We're on the other side of the country, completely new area, and we can go that way. And since it's in Hollywood, I hope we get like some of that like 1950s, 1940s, like Hollywood era kind of stuff baked into the story.
For sure.
Like
they
seeing
definitely
that
will.
world afterwards.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'm very excited. It's definitely one that I'm going to watch when it comes out, and hopefully it's good. Like I said, Amazon's been kind of crushing it with a lot of their shows, so I imagine it'll be good.
Love that. Yeah, I think it's going to be good. I agree with you. Amazon has been doing really well. So yeah, I mean, and that's it for all the small touch and goes. So we can go to anything you want to talk about in the Game Awards. I can just say, at least leading with the Game Awards, I just think that a lot of stuff looks great, and I'll follow your lead here if anything you want to mention.
Sure, yeah, I'll kind of just go now. Granted, for everybody listening, this is not in sequential order because I had to go back and get a lot of things that I forgot. So this will kind of just be all over the place. But we're gonna touch on maybe not everything, but most everything. We'll kind of say a word here or there about it. One thing I did want to bring up: Banjo-Kazooie is number 36 on my favorite games of all time list. So there you go.
Nice.
Alrighty, so
I would love to go through that with you one day.
I need to update it. I have it on my GG app, and it is definitely out of date. I am missing some titles here, but we'll get there. We'll go. We'll maybe that can be an episode one day. We go through our list again.
I need to make an official one, but I already know what's up there for me on most of them.
Yeah. So going through some of the games, one of the first ones that I ended up writing down because it was about this time of the show where you were like, "Hey Ford, you should write these down for me."
Yeah, I spaced it, but so I went back and I was looking at them too, so it's all good.
So Harmonium, which was the musical made for
the accessibility,
accessibility and all that. And I think it looks fantastic. I rewatched the trailer.
So
I will say some of the animation is a little wonky, but that's kind of normal for games that aren't finished yet. And so it looks
good
really
message
great.
Though.
I hope that it's one of those sweet, wholesome 5 to 8 hour, quick, wholesome, like get in, get out sort of titles. Because I don't know, some of these types of games, they sometimes like overstay their welcome. But I'm very excited for it. It looks great. Other than, like I said, some of the animation stuff, and I love that it's built around the accessibility and everything. We need more of that. 100%. I want to play.
Everyone deserves to play games, and I love that they're also giving them jobs to put their input in, or the devs that are working on these are need these features or are, and so they're incorporating it within the gameplay itself, and that's very fun. Not just the gameplay, it seemed like the narrative almost, which is great.
Yeah, the whole narrative seems to be built around it. And so I think that looks fantastic. And I want to play more games built from people with different perspectives. I live my perspective every single day. I want to be able to play stuff that puts me in the shoes of somebody else and who has different life experiences and different things for me to experience through their eyes.
I mean, I would agree with that fully, because whenever I was a kid, that's what I did is I learned most of my, or a lot of things, whether it's cultures or just whether it's certain words or terminology from games. Like any RPG that I played, I would hear or see certain things, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know you could write this way or say these things together or whatever. And I learned from a video game what a mortar and pestle was. So like the fact that you can learn what different cultures or different like special needs people might have, or you can just experience a game through a different lens. That I think is invaluable. It's so so it's so valuable. It's so I don't know what the word I was looking for, but it's so valuable to get that different lens.
Yeah, 100%. Then around that same time, we got the announcement of the Brothers Tale of Two Sons remake.
Yes.
I never did beat this one, so I actually will go back in.
I never got to play this one, but I have played their other games, and I can say I love them all. I play It Takes Two, because they're the ones that make It Takes Two and Way Out, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so A Way Out, absolutely loved it. It wasn't what you would think it would be. It was a very puzzle-heavy game, and I love those types of games. It Takes Two, action-adventure puzzle. Very beautiful game, very weird, but there was a few very weird moments, but a very cute game, so I can only imagine Brothers is very similar to that, and I trust their co-op experience to be just as good with that one.
Man, I will never get over the elephant scene.
Dude, I can't. It was wild. It was wild.
It's just the like...
It shifted.
Total shift,
dude. Yeah, it shifted so hard and they were also making like joking about it. And I'm like, it's not good. What is happening? This is so awful.
That was an experience to be sure. But yeah, I'm excited to replay, or I guess finish actually, Brothers for the first time, because what I did play of it originally was pretty good, and the story was getting to me. I can't remember why I stopped playing. Honestly, I think I was playing with a friend and we just lost interest.
Hopefully you can finish it this time around.
the big one from the early show
Yeah.
was Windblown
Yes.
from the Dead Cells developers.
Absolutely. Looked so great.
Looks so great. Looks phenomenal.
It was one of my
I
favorite. It's
want
like one of
them
my
to
top
have-
3.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably like top 5, at bare minimum top 10, possibly top 5, because it just looks so good. All the art, all the music, everything just looks so phenomenal in
Dude,
that.
yeah, I'm right there with you.
Next was Thrasher, which is the
What was that?
follow-up to Thumper, the VR game.
Oh, yeah.
This was like that VR kind of rhythm, weird game. And I'm telling you,
I'm
if you
in
got
it.
a VR headset, I try out Thumper, because Thumper is amazing, and this looks awesome too.
I've played Beat Saber, so any type of and I love my music games, you know. So any type of rhythm game like that, I'm all in, especially if it's anything like in VR. Like Beat Saber is so fun to bust out the VR headset for. That's really the only reason I have the headset at this point, and so I would love to get that game.
Man, I gotta get a VR headset at some point.
Have you played VR ever?
I have played VR.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, I have played VR enough to know that I do want one. It's just always like a justification of,
there's nothing to really play like continuously.
It's that, because I'm sure I could find stuff to play. Like the indie game market's pretty good for VR right now, but it's honestly the initial cost to get into it that's always kind of the biggest deterrent for me, because I always tell myself, if I'm going to buy this type of tech, I'm going to go for the high end one. If I'm going to invest in something like this, I'm going to invest into it.
Yeah.
And so I'd want to get something like, say, like the Valve Index, or like, the higher end MetaQuest or something like that. And I always look at that price tag and I'm like, man.
Yeah.
It's hard to swallow that for, like I said, I could find plenty of games, but how many of them are going to be like those 10 out of 10? Like, oh man, I'm so glad I bought a VR for this.
I mean, right? I got one of the early model Oculuses, and it's still great, and I love it. But the fact that so many have come out since then, like I maybe got like the Series 2 Oculus. I have like the original, not even before MetaQuest, and so I have just like the original with the full wires, fully connects to my graphics card and everything. So with cameras too. So some of them are cameraless, some of them are wireless. But and some of them even have the thing, but and some of them are just probably way better than mine. So I'm with you. I already invested $300-$400, however much it was, and I love it, and it's still great. But now that we've had so many more, I kind of want an updated one. I have had it for like 6 or 7 years.
Because they're on like what, MetaQuest 3 now?
Probably. Either way, it's like 5 or 6 iterations higher than mine.
Yeah. So I think I'm close though. I think 2025 is. Or sorry, 2024, next year. Sorry. I think that is probably when I'm going to get in. I think that's when I'm going to end up buying a headset. I want to see kind of what the market looks like when we get there, but I feel like by this time next year, I think I'll have a headset. Especially since I have the space for it now too. That's the other big thing, is I actually have space for it.
And well, you know what? That'll be good news for me, because I don't have very many friends that have them, and it's also very awkward to set up for everybody and stuff. But I got some decent room in here that I can play around with. Maybe we could play a co-op game together, because there's a couple that are out there that I have no justification in buying, because I don't know if I'll ever play them. So
I mean, hey, that's a big selling point for me right there, knowing that I already got somebody to play with. So yeah, next year, keep an eye out for it. We'll have VR impressions sometime next year. VR co-op impressions.
Yeah, we'll see.
Last few things that were in kind of the pre-show was Big Walk, which was
very cute.
The like little water bird looking guys.
Yeah.
Very cute. Definitely into it. I don't know what the game's actually going to be. It kind of just looks like, hey, let's just go hang out as little bird guys.
Yeah, it feels like the experience. It's like it seemed like a survival version or open world version of just like, hey, let's be silly, like Lethal Company, where it's about the experience and just goofing off with people. But it could be something way deeper than that. I have no idea.
I mean, hey, even if it is that kind of Lethal Company, as long as it's the right price and I can get all my friends to buy it, hey, I'm down. I'm always down for those types of experiences. And I think like I said, my list is a little messed up, but I think that was the only stuff from the pre-show. I can't remember if No Rest for the Wicked was in the pre-show. I don't think it was.
We could pull up a full list of the actual like timestamps and stuff too, but yeah, I don't know.
We'll just kind of go off this. If we miss something, I'm sure we'll come back to it at some point.
I mean, we will by whenever it comes out because this, you know, that's what we're doing anyway.
So the next one, this was one of the first ones that got announced, which was Exodus, which after researching, I'm pretty interested in, honestly.
This was the space one?
This was the Matthew McConaughey, like, you know, you're going to go through like a wormhole and experience time differently and everything. So
and what you do in the future affects the past or whatever and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes. I did a little bit more research on it. I can't 100% tell, but it definitely seems like it is going for Mass Effect like style game.
The secret to me, I've never played Mass Effect.
You've never played Mass Effect?
No, and it's odd because it was such a massive game back then. I just never got around to it. Because when those were dropping, that was back in the Halo competitive scene days, like Halo 3, and that's all I played was Halo 3.
Oh man!
So maybe I'll pick up whichever one is the more liked one and check it out.
Well, you can pick up Legendary Edition, which has all three. And trust me, it's a series you want to play 1 through 3, because this whole thing is that all your choices from the games carry over to the other games. So it's definitely something you want to see from 1 to 3, and I highly recommend. I do think it is something that you would actually really enjoy. So basically, since you haven't played Mass Effect kind of high space opera, RPG. Second and third one put more focus on some combat mechanics and really tighten that up. And this kind of seems to be going for a similar vibe. Hey, Earth is dying. We found like other planets that have other life forms. You're basically going to be going to work with like all those different life forms to eventually come back to Earth and kind of save Earth in a way. That's what I've gathered from the website that I looked at. The thing that I haven't been able to really tell is if this is multiplayer or not, because like everything I read about it is very much like this is an RPG, story driven, yada yada yada. And then like at the end of the page, they have like hey, refer a friend to get free in-game rewards, and I'm like, so is this multiplayer? Like I don't understand. I don't understand what exactly this is supposed to.
Maybe that's just the marketing ploy to get you to get something for a single player game.
Maybe
because I wouldn't even have, like, say I didn't watch the Game Awards. Someone like me might not have even looked its way, and so if you wanted some in-game rewards, you could have sent it to me. That might get me to play, and then I could send it to a friend, and so it could just be a viral marketing sensation.
Could be, yeah, that's fair. The other thing that makes me think that this maybe has like some multiplayer element is them saying, let me see if I can find it exactly. As a traveler, your calling is to journey to the stars. Each exodus comes with a cost, though. And it's saying each exodus makes me feel like, is this an extraction shooter? Like, is the exodus what you're calling like a drop, basically? You know, you're going to go do an exodus, salvage crap, come back to Earth, and that's what the cost comes from. I don't know. A lot of questions around this one, but it's got enough hooks on it that I am very interested in seeing what it ends up being. And I mean, hey, it's got Matthew McConaughey in it, so that'll be kind of cool.
That's got to be all right.
Yeah. All right. And yeah, that's about all I got on that one. That one, I would put that higher on my list of things that I'm interested in. I'm really curious because if anything can even reach like half of what Mass Effect was, that's still a pretty damn good game. Next on my list, Kimuri, which was the the little what was it? This thing, the little unseen thing. That trailer, I rewatched that trailer, just has so much style. It's insane.
Absolutely.
So we don't really know much gameplay wise. I like even looked to kind of see if there was like, a write up where it's like Kimuri is a blankety 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 blank style game. didn't really see anything like that. The only thing I could really find was them saying that, you're a yokai hunter and you use your little, whatever camera thing to see the unseen, which are the yokai. But other than that, couldn't really find anything about like what exactly this game is. But even still, just based off of the style and art alone, I mean, I'm in. I'm guessing probably some form of multiplayer, seeing as there's a bunch of characters on the screen. But
right, and the way that they pan out, it seems like this is like it's not you, it's you in a group kind of deal. So it's like you and your. That's what we just showed on screen. So yeah, it did look like that. So
yeah, this is like you and your team and stuff like that. So very interested in that, and seeing what they do with that. Next up on my list is Dragon Ball Punchy, because I forgot what the actual title was.
Sparking Zero.
Sparking
Dragon
Zero.
Ball Punchy.
I was like Lightning Storm. I'm like, no, I think that's a Naruto thing.
Putting it up on screen now. I should have been putting them up on screen while we were talking about them. I apologize. They're up on screen now.
Smart. Oh, that's smart. Oh, that looks really good. I'm watching your stream right now. Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, so Dragon Ball Punchy.
It's a Budokai game. Let's go.
It's a Budokai game. Let's punch some shit, I remember playing these back on PS2 like when I was younger. Could not have any frame of reference for any of the shit that's going on the screen right now. So I'll leave this one to you if you want to say anything about it. But to me, I'm just like, yep, Dragon Ball. It's a game.
Are you a Dragon Ball fan? Do you partake in the watching of the Dragon Balls?
None of the new stuff. So like Cell Saga, I remember was like my jam back in the day.
So you're not as okay. So I am obsessed.
Yes, which is why I put this in here to make sure you got your time to talk about this.
I'm obsessed. I mean, there's nothing much to say other than we're getting a new Budokai, guys. Let's go. I'm not a fan of these types of games after 2 days, 3 days. I get kind of bored relatively quick, but you can't beat it. It's a fun. You get what you get. It's like it's bright lights and Dragon Ball beat 'em up. Like let's play it. I don't know what I would want from a Dragon Ball game. Maybe a MOBA, but it's like, does that succeed in this world? No, but I would want to see it. Like, give me a Vel'Koz Vegeta skin or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. So I don't, it's Dragon Ball Punchies, like you said. It is what it is. It looks fantastic. Yeah. It looks gorgeous. Always love to hear Chris voice act and Sean voice act. So you sold me on just that alone. I played the more recent, what are they called?
Kakarot?
No, Kakarot's the RPG, but I did play that as well. Pretty good, not bad. Especially if you like the story stuff, so it like changes it slightly. But I like the combat a little bit more in the time games. I can't think of what they're called right now. Xenoverse.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I played Xenoverse 1, beat it, went through the whole campaign, absolutely loved it. Very cool RPG, kind of MMO style feel, because you could see your lobby with your friends and stuff like that, or other people just walking around. But I like the battles in that. It was very fun. And then Xenoverse 2 didn't grasp me as much. And then obviously your regular fighter, like the other Dragon Balls, are very good. The Fighter Z, very good. And Kakarot's pretty good. So this, I can only imagine it's going to be great. Nothing else to really say about it.
Sweet. Get your Dragon Ball Punchies in.
Absolutely.
Next is the Sega Mega 5-game remake announcement thing, where they're like, hey, all those old games that were on Sega, we're remaking them. Which, I mean, hell, I'm down.
Yeah.
New Crazy Taxi? I mean, I won't say no.
What was it actually called? Sega Mega 5? Was it that? Was it called that?
Sega 5-game announcement, maybe. I'm not sure what would bring it up. Sega Game Awards, maybe that might bring it up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe the 5 that they put on there was
there we go.
Golden Axe, Jet Set Radio.
Very welcoming on the new Golden Axe. That's awesome. I loved those games as a kid. I
never ever in a million years would have thought that we would have gotten another Golden Axe anything. Ever. But yeah, so Golden Axe, Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, which looks really cool, Crazy Taxi, and what was the other one? Streets of Rage. Thank Jared in chat. But yeah, I mean, I'm down. It did, and it also says in the trailer, it's like, and more. So
do we get Shining Force? Did you ever play Shining
maybe,
Force?
yeah. I'm familiar with it. I didn't play it back then, but
I
I've seen
loved it
gameplay
back
and-
then.
I mean,
It was
is
a
probably one of
tactical
the big-
RPG.
yeah, that was one of the bigger games too. So I would have. I mean, them saying "and more" makes me think that this is maybe just kind of a strategy to like, hey, all of our old Genesis games, we're just gonna remake. You know, maybe they're not gonna be anything super fancy. They'll just kind of
Do
be
they look so
nostalgia.
good? I think they look
They
great.
do look very good.
I want to go back through these. Look at these. Oh my
Oddly
god.
enough, looking at them now, they almost look like they're all kind of within the same, like probably like framework and engine. Like they all look within.
Look
the
at that
same
Streets of Rage. It looked incredible. Look at this. This looks incredible. What is this one?
Shinobi. That's Shinobi.
Oh my god, I've never played the original. This looks amazing.
Shinobi I played, and Shinobi is dope. Yeah,
This looks
I'm
so
super
good.
stoked.
I'm all in.
All in.
Golden
Sega,
Axe.
you got one.
You got me for sure.
I also do wonder. Sega has talked about for about a year now how they're working on what they legitimately call their super game, which they're like is a quadruple A game, which doesn't make any sense. But they've said for a while that's what they're working on. Is this it? I wonder. Like, is this all going to be packaged under one thing with a bunch of their older titles remade, or is this
Probably. They've had other
5 separate
packages.
titles?
They've had other packages before, so I mean, but they look powerful. But it's older games remodeled, so they probably aren't that long. I could see it in a bundle, if that's what you're
Okay.
asking.
I'd be down. I'd be down. I mean, I'm more so asking is if this is what they consider their super game. I feel like that'd be kind of weird to consider a bunch of remakes their super game, but if they
Their
all
super
are kind
game,
of in,
plot twist. Their super game is Sonic Frontiers 2.
oh man, quadruple A Sonic Frontiers 2. But yeah, that's about all I had on that one. I'm stoked. I'm excited. I mean, like I said, new Crazy Taxi.
If we can get the Sleeping with Sirens vocalist again, I'm about it.
Helen Quinn.
Yeah.
I'm about it too. Next is the casting of Frank Stone, which is the Dead by Daylight single player game that they're making in collaboration with Supermassive, which is awesome. Super excited for that. Not necessarily that I'm into the Dead by Daylight universe or the lore, but Supermassive makes fantastic games. They're the ones who made stuff like Until Dawn, The Quarry, the Dark Pictures Anthology. So they made a lot of really good quality horror stuff. And so I feel like there's no better mashup they could have gone with to get a single player Dead by Daylight game. That being said, the main thing I want to say about this one isn't even actually about the game, but more so just live service games. I'm begging you. This is what you need to do. If you want to be relevant in this day and age, you've got to have other products going on with your IP. You got to have a single player game from your IP to really start getting people to still be coming back. It's the same thing League of Legends is doing. These guys are doing it because they're smart. They realize that we got to get people invested in what the Dead by Daylight IP is. And to do that, we have to have more than one product. We have to have multiple games, whether it's multiplayer games or single player games. And Bungie, I'm looking at you. Get going. It's time to expand the Destiny IP.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you can consistently milk your fan base by selling them darkness with 4 flashlights, you keep doing it.
Yep, you keep doing it.
Exactly. I think this looks interesting because it looks like Stranger Things, Iron Maiden or something. I don't even know what's going on, but I'm kind of in Cthulhu-esque, like Lovecraftian. I don't know what's happening in that trailer, but I love it. It seems cool. I don't like Dead by Daylight. You don't need to sell me on this franchise. It's dark, spooky with 4 flashlights. I don't really care, but I can say that I'm actually interested in this. Just what it looks like. I'm not going to buy this, whatever this is, but I could not be more interested in the franchise. I don't like horror, but
I might end up getting it depends on how good it is. Like horror is one of those things where I'm not actively partaking in like horror games, but the ones that are really good and really do some interesting stuff, I partake in. So it'll really depend on what this game actually ends up being. Is this an action horror game? Is this just a straight up like Outlast style horror game? It's really going to depend on a lot of those factors on if I get this. But regardless, I'm happy to see them expanding the IP because that's what you got to do in this day and age.
yeah, I mean it's worth it.
it.
I'm just being hypercritical just because I think anytime, because horror, especially with this type of genre, it is literally just darkness with flashlights and someone going, "Doom, hello." Like it's like where's the lore?
Yeah.
What is the lore?
Well, I mean, hey, who knows? They're expanding the lore right now. They're finally bringing the whole.
This looks way cooler than for sure.
So who knows? Maybe HP #1 fan in a year. You know, he'll be like, guys, hop on that Dead by Daylight.
Yep. We'll see.
Next up is Visions of Mana. I don't really have too much to say on this one. This was actually probably one of the least excited titles I don't know why. The Mana series has just never done it for me. I'm a JRPG guy, but I feel like just the art style is beautiful, but it's also like the character style is like this weird kind of kid.
Yeah, it looks a little too chibi.
Yeah, almost this halfway point between like anime and chibi. It doesn't really do a lot for me. I mean, like art palette, like the color palette and the environments look amazing, but this has just never been a series that's really been able to grab me. But who knows? I mean, stranger things have happened with me in RPGs. Let me tell you what. So
yeah, I've watched you play Final Fantasy.
Yeah, so who knows? A year or two from now, I could be like, guys, Visions of Mana, the greatest thing never happened in my life.
It looks cute. I don't think it's anything special. It looks cute. That's about it.
Yep, that's about it. We'll see if it takes over my life later.
I could play
Next, Rise of the Ronin, which is Bandai Namco's. Actually, it's not a Souls-like, is it? It's just like
it looked like it to me.
Oh, is it then? Okay.
It might not be. I could be absolutely wrong.
Yeah, I can't remember if this is like, not Bandai Namco, Koei Tecmo. That's right. Yeah, this is the Neo guys. So yeah, it's probably Souls-like.
Because that's when I thought it was Ghost of Tsushima, which is just a Souls-like. But people say it's not, so I don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah, so I mean, looks cool, looks interesting. I
love this setting, so
I do love the setting. I just don't know if I don't know. There's something about these trailers that just haven't really been able to like get me to go, oh yeah, like I gotta get in there.
See, I feel I agree with you. I think a lot of the times games things like this, it's less about the trailer getting me hype and more of like if I had the access to play it, I would feel like where he flies through the sky and then assassinates a dude, like that. Those moments will feel great. The combat might feel great, and then it looks like it's got some good world, like the like we just said, the world, it might be good. So if the world and setting are good, will it have a good narrative? I mean, look at this background with this burning building. He actually had his sword on fire with this burning building. That burning building might tell a story. So it could be you play it and you experience it, and then you're like, okay, I'm in. But okay. Yeah, I'm with you with the trailer. It's like, okay, this is every game. You know, there's a lot of games that do this. Yes. But could the setting sell you? You know, that's
actually a great way of putting it. Is this is almost like if I just imagined in my head Ronin samurai game, that this is what pops up, and because of that, it just doesn't really strike
a little cliche.
Me as anything. Yeah, exactly. But actually, yeah, you're right. Who knows? When this comes out, maybe it gets awesome reviews. I check out some gameplay. I actually see what the moment to moment is, and maybe it sells me on it. Because I also love this time period. You know, Ghost of Tsushima is one of my favorite games, and so if we could get something similar to this, I mean, I'm down. And we don't gotta wait that long. March 22nd, if I can say it correctly. So we'll see what happens. Next was my hypest moment of the show, which was OD, Kojima's next project, his horror. He says it's a game, but he also says it's a movie, and then he goes on to say it's a new form of media. And I'm like, never change, Kojima.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, what does that even mean? Who knows? Only Kojima knows. I love Kojima. I'm such a huge fan of Kojima and everything he does. I get that it's not all perfect, but I love that he does it. Do you want to deliver packages in the post-apocalypse? Maybe not, but Kojima's the only person who can go out there and make that happen, I feel like. And so whatever this ends up being, I'm super stoked for it.
I'm excited to see the collab.
And that's the other big thing is the Jordan Peele collab is amazing.
Who are they hiding? If they showed Jordan Peele and Kojima, who are they hiding? Because you heard the phrase at the end, right? What they said?
Yeah, he's like, I've got other collaborators
That we
and I
can't
call
tell
them
you
the
yet.
event. Yeah.
Yeah. So who
I
is the
think-
Avengers of writers here?
I feel like it's got to be Guillermo del Toro. Because
Okay.
he's already worked with Guillermo del Toro before. Originally, when Kojima was going to make the next Silent Hill and the whole PT trailer and all that whole shebang happened, Guillermo del Toro was attached to that.
Now, are we doing
and then
like these thought-provoking writers, or are we doing the horror writers, or a mix of both? I mean, Guillermo del Toro. So I mean, but what are we doing here? Because like when I was thinking, I was like, dude, if they get like Isayama, because he just finished his AOT project, if they got Isayama on a project with Jordan Peele and Kojima, I'm done, dude.
insane,
That's
dude.
the Avengers,
That'd be
dude.
So insane. Honestly, like, I have a feeling that once we get the full list of collaborators on this thing, it's going to be one of the most insane, like, multimedia collaborations of all time.
The Mount
Like,
Rushmore of writers.
Already just with Kojima and Peele, like, that's a massive collaboration. But if you get like Isayama in there, if you get like from the music side, if you get somebody like his name escapes me, but the Silent Hill composer, I always forget his name. Akira Yamaoka. If you get people like that in here, I mean, this thing has the ability to be just one of the greatest collaborations ever. Will that mean the game is good? Who knows? This is one of those art house projects where it's probably going to be extremely subjective, just like Death Stranding was.
Yeah.
One person will tell you Death Stranding changed their life. The other person will be like, I tripped on a rock and dropped all my packages. Fuck this game. And
Fair.
so that's just Kojima for you. But I'm so excited. I imagine we probably don't see this for a while. Like, this is probably
for sure.
Now,
I mean, you saw that mocap. Like that mocap alone is going to take them a while.
Yeah, this is probably like a 2027 game at best. Because he's still got Death Stranding 2 to finish too. We already know that's happening. We had a trailer for that. So that's probably going to be a 2025, 2026 title. This 2027, 2028, if I had to guess. But man, could not be more hyped. Next up, Jurassic Park Survival. This is one, actually, I wanted to look this up real quick because the other thing that I wasn't sure on this one is I couldn't really tell if this is, by saying survival, does that mean this is like a Ark style game?
Probably
like multiplayer survival, or is it more single player? Because
I mean,
the trailer makes me feel more single player.
The trailer does make me feel single player, and we have a world for that. I mean, we have the Subnautica of games.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine Subnautica, but instead of a world of ocean, it's a world of dinosaurs. I mean, we could get that easily because you're in regular Earth with dinosaurs in the modern day. I think that's fine.
You honestly, with that sentence, kind of sold me on it. Subnautica with the dinosaurs. I mean, I'm kind of.
That's what it's kind of showing. I feel like if we were getting a multiplayer experience, we would see at least one of her partners with her. But it seems very alone. It seems like she's the doctor, or she's the scientist, or the visitor at the park, and that's the character. That's it, And so and then the dinosaurs got out. But I feel like they would show more than one person if it were co-op. So I think we are getting a Subnautica type Jurassic Park survival game, which is fine. There's a space for it. I mean, I would rather play Ark probably, but I mean, you got dinosaurs. Sell it to me.
I mean, yeah, you know me. I love dinosaurs, just like my game of the year, Exoprimal. But so I just looked it up, and apparently the developers went on record after the show saying that it's going to be similar to Alien Isolation, which was a single player game. So that makes me think this is probably single player then. Which, hey, I'm into it. Because
scare me with dinosaurs, man. That's what I want.
Exactly. Scare me with dinosaurs, and also if it was a multiplayer survival game, yeah, it feels like that's kind of already taken by Ark, right? Like, do we need another dinosaur survival game in the space? I don't think so.
I think this fills a different void. If it's solo, I think it does.
Exactly. If it's solo, I think it works.
And I
If this
think Ark is more fantastical too, right? You have dragons, you have griffins, you have wyverns, you have dinosaurs that do a job too. You're not taming these dinosaurs. You're fighting them. You're fending for yourself. They are the enemy. In Ark, they are the utility. So we're getting a different feel out of a survival game with a Jurassic Park style versus Ark.
Okay. Well, hey, color me excited then. You sold me on it by the context you put it in. So, yeah, color me excited. Next is Fortnite Rocket Racing. I feel like not a ton to say on this other than cool. Fortnite is just deciding to take over the universe with all their new games.
What game? Sorry, say it again.
Fortnite Rocket Racing.
Oh yeah. I'm not interested in it, but I mean, you go add fast cars to it. I love seeing.
Apparently, the cars can cost upwards of $40. So there's that. But that's the microtransaction market we live in nowadays. So though I guess you can't really call them micro that much anymore. Do you think this has any chance of being as good as like Mario Kart?
No.
Okay.
Okay, you tack on the name Fortnite to it, it comes close. But Mario Kart is such a household name, period. I think that here's where it. Okay, you know what? Is that what we're getting? I mean, I didn't even think about that. But are we getting items? Are we? I mean, it looks like it. I didn't even think about that though, because I saw racing and I was like, I'm done. But you know what? You got a point. Now, Mario Kart is a household name, but it's a household name for Nintendo families. Fortnite is for everyone. So if this is on Steam alone, you're getting the Mario Kart people and more. Because, I mean, you have a Discord full of 10 to 20 people you're friends with, right? And I do as well. Me and the boys playing basically Mario Kart, but something we're familiar with, Rocket League, but accessible, because I only know like 2 or 3 of my friends that have a Switch out of 20 of us. So if we all have a computer, we're all hopping in Discord, we could play this Rocket Racing. I'd be interested. That's a good point. You sold me on this. Is Ford going to actually get me to... Well, no, see, I like Rocket League. I don't like Fortnite. Did Ford just sell me on something Fortnite?
Dude, I'm telling you, when they announced these 3 new projects like a week ago, I was like, am I about to download Fortnite? Because I mean, they're really kind of branching out and doing a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, it definitely from what I saw, I looked at a little bit of gameplay. It is a kart style racer. Not necessarily as kart feeling, I guess, but like items and all that kind of stuff do come into play.
I love that.
So maybe I'll give it a download after this too. Next up was the Warframe expansion. Not really too much to say. I'm just gonna say, man, I wish I could get into this game. I really, really do, but I just
I'm fully with you. I mean, it looks cool. There's nothing else to say. I wish I could get into it as well.
I wish I could.
On paper, it sounds fun.
Knows how to get into Warframe and not have it take 300 hours? Please let me know.
Or $300.
Or $300. Yes. Not 300 hours, and definitely not more than like $20.
Yeah, let us know.
Next is Tales of Kenzera.
Yes, that is the Critical Role game.
Mm-hmm. And this is the guy who had that awesome speech about his father and just being for his father and stuff. Fuck yeah, dude! I'm so absolutely into this game. That looks like Ori on crack.
Yes, that is the humanity that is. So Critical Role being involved in this is no surprise to me. With a story like this, not just in the game, but he said it was a kind of a love letter to his father who passed away, and it was that message of it. Critical Role being attached to this is no surprise to me. They are nothing but wholesome. The group of people that work with Critical Role and the bosses, their CEOs, are just nothing but the sweetest people you could ever meet in the world. So it's no surprise to me that they're involved in this. This looks incredible. I'm with you. It looks like Ori on crack. I'm 100% in. Showing it on screen now. Look, it's gorgeous. What a beautiful message. I'm with it.
So kind of less about the game, more about the Critical Role-ness, because I know how big of a fan you are of them. Is this their first outing into a video game? Attached to a video game project?
I think that they have. I don't know if they've put their name on something else, but I know that they, as their characters, are in and they voice are in some RPG. I can't remember. It's not Path of Exile. What's the other one? It's PoE. It's Pillars of Eternity.
Pillars of Eternity. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I was gonna say I know it's PoE, but it's not Path of Exile. Yeah, Pillars of Eternity. They are. I don't know if they put their name on that because I don't think they've actually really worked on it. But they are in that game, so they've been in the space. But in terms of what you're basically asking is have they put their name on something? I don't think so. I could be wrong, but they are going to be that multimedia company. They got their space on Twitch. They got their space on Amazon as a show, as an anime. They are moving into the game space. They're making their own board games. They're making their own IP for a board game, or not IP, but so they're making their own game system. Like D&D,
Oh,
but
nice.
they're making their D&D
love that.
adjacent, so they don't have to kind of backbone on D&D. So, but it's not a new space in terms. It might be a new space in terms of putting their name on the being a proprietary. But I think that they're not new in the space in general because they've worked in the industry for so long, all of them, and
Okay.
yeah. So and man, if it's anyone I trust to make a quality content, it's them. They are so fantastic and great people, and I support everything that they do. Their messages are all great. So, God, that game looked gorgeous, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks so good. That's definitely a big one for me for the show. Next up is the first Berserker Kazan, which was based off of a older game, I believe. I can't remember which one, but the art style looked really good. It kind of had that shadow like filter over everything, like that inky shadow look.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looked really cool. I feel like there's not a ton to it that I can really say. Like, I don't know the IP or anything, but as something new, yeah, it looks pretty good. It might be something I'm interested in. I'd put this in the maybe category.
Yeah.
I'd have to see how it looks when it actually ends up coming out.
Yep. I mean, I don't have anything to say about it. It's probably not something I would play, but it looks interesting.
Yeah, anime games,
Yeah.
not up at HP's.
I mean, it looks fun, but it looks like one of the. It looks like just your typical third-person hack and slash with quick time stuff.
Yeah.
I dig it. Again, not something I would pay for just because it's not my wheelhouse, but I would play it if I had access to it.
An Xbox Game Pass play or something like that.
There we
maybe?
go. Yeah, something like that.
Okay. And then, okay, well, yeah, that's all I got on that one. It definitely one of those ones where we'll see how it comes out. But yeah,
I mean, it
these
looks
titles-
fantastic. Just not my style of game, but it looks great.
Yeah. Next up is the GOAT, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Man, I got to beat all those Final Fantasy so I can finally play Remake.
Yes, you do.
And then Rebirth. Because, man, that performance, man, was just
She crushed
out
it.
of this world.
They crushed it. They all crushed it.
Out of this world, man. I cannot wait. I mean, this is going to be an easy game of the year contender for next year. No doubt in my mind about it that this is going to be phenomenal. Look at my boy Vincent Valentine. Oh, man. It also just looks so good.
It does. It looks fantastic.
Insane. Oh, I'm so excited. So very excited. That's all I have to say for this one.
I mean, how can you not love
Remake.
Cloud?
I know, just that giant sword. And then there was the announcement of like all the crossover stuff that they're doing with like Apex Legends, which is very random, but I mean, hey, get that bag, go for it.
Right. Absolutely.
Next up was the announcement for Marvel's Blade from Arcane, which, man, I did not expect this one. This one was definitely one that caught me off guard. I thought that Arcane was probably just going to be working on the next Dishonored or something, but knowing that, granted, they got multiple Arcane, so this is the Deathloop team. But still, I mean, this looks awesome, and I can't imagine like a better team to take on this style of game.
Yeah.
Especially the one thing that I'm curious about is if it's going to be first person or third person, because I really hope it's first person, because I feel like that's what vibes with Arcane style.
I feel like
most.
I do feel I could see that, but I feel like the shots that we're getting here aren't too personal in the way the art style is, I think I think it's third person. I could be wrong.
It probably is. I think you're probably right, because
I think we're
also,
getting because like Spider-Man has been doing so well, you know, they're just gonna clone it and make it Blade.
I mean, hey, I'm down with that.
No, I'm down. I'm
So-
just saying, like, that's. I mean, why would you? I mean, they're going now. They're doing their movie formula, but in the game, I could see it. It's just Blade and not Spider-Man this time.
Yeah, I could definitely see it, though. Definitely going to, or I'm at least going to say, I hope that they play differently. I hope that it's not like your typical character third person. You know, I'm just going to parry this guy and then stab this vampire, and then parry this vampire and then stab that vampire. Like, I hope that there's a little bit more complexity to it, because that's what Arcane's good at.
That's what I get bored of in those types of games, Assassin's Creed and whatnot.
Mhm.
And a lot of people love their Assassin's Creed, but I gotta say, I will be addicted for one full day. You'll get 10 hours out of me in one day, but I won't touch it again. I will not want to ever come back to it. And that's just how I am. So same thing with this one. I think that's what'll happen if it is that style. But if you trust the company to not make it that way, then maybe we won't. So
That's the thing, is that if it was any other developer, like some random Joe Schmo developer, I'd be like, yeah, that's 100% what you're getting. But because it's Arcane, I'm like, come on, guys. These are the Dishonored guys, the Deathloop guys. Like, we gotta have some sauce. And
Yeah.
we can't just be having, I parry this vampire, then stab him, then I parry this vampire and stab him. Like, we gotta have something more than that.
okay.
Next up is Last Sentinel, which is the game from the ex-Rockstar developers. And this thing looks dope as hell. This is like my type of game. This is the one that was like in like Neo Japan. And she rides in on a motorcycle and just like absolutely nukes all these guys.
Yeah.
Super stoked for this. I don't know what this is going to end up being. Seeing that it is Rockstar devs, I imagine it is going to be kind of within the GTA vein, but obviously a much more serious tone, much more probably serious combat than kind of the goofiness you get with a lot of GTA.
Right.
If anything, I could see this possibly being something closer to like a Max Payne 3 that Rockstar made, and maybe having a little bit more vibes akin to that. But everything they set up here, I mean, graphics look amazing. The narrative seems interesting. And then, you know, the style, the combat style that we get, you know, granted it's CG. If they can replicate that style within game, I mean, I'm super, super in.
They replicate that style within game. We're just getting Cyberpunk.
Which, hey, I mean, I'm down for. I still need to play Cyberpunk, and
I have not played it. I don't really care because I like I was talking to my buddy today. I think that I get too bored with first person shooter single player experiences. I don't think that they're bad by any means. I don't think that they're all just Call of Duties, and even the Call of Duties can be fun. But like with Halo and with Call of Duty and with even like Fallout, even though it's more of an RPG forward, it's still a first person shooter. Those types of games, I lose interest very quickly. Borderlands, stuff like that. I love them, but it's something about being so personal into the character. I don't feel it, and I also feel like when I'm in that shooter mode, maybe it's just because I played a lot of Halo growing up competitively. So maybe it's like I feel like when I'm playing a shooter, it should be. I should be sweating. I should be in it, and you know. But you can relax and play those games too. It's just harder for me to disconnect from what I've already learned versus like, you know, a game like Zelda or where we play some side scrollers, Celeste or Hades or whatever. Even though Hades is kind of sweaty, but it's more like it's a laid back couch game kind of deals too. So is there something like that? Yeah, there's just not this disconnect there. I feel like it's too personal.
But if this did end up being third person, would that disconnect still be there? Or is it mainly just the first
No,
person
I think
stuff?
it's mainly just the first person. I think if you change it to third person, like Gears of War feels more arcadey to me, and so I feel like it's more of a game. When I'm in the shooter mode, it doesn't feel like, I don't know. There's something about it. It kind of reminded me of Alita Battle Angel a little bit, huh?
Oh man, yeah, a little bit actually. That's a good call out. I mean, hey, I'd take an Alita game or a game similar to Alita. I mean,
Yeah.
this is probably like number 2 or 3 on my excitement list. I actually am really into everything they showed right here, and it being made by a team, or formed of a team from so many high-end developers, especially something like the bigwigs from like Rockstar. I really think this could end up being something special. And like I said, everything just kind of clicked with me. Narrative, vibes, all that kind of stuff just clicked with me on this guy. Next was the First Descendant, which I don't even know if we need to bring anything up on it. I tried the beta of this one. You did as well.
I was going to say the audio is not good too. The audio, I don't know if that was just because it was the beta and they just kind of didn't put the assets in yet, but man, every 4 seconds, I'm reloading, over here, reloading. I'm like, dude, can I just play the game? It was just nonstop repeating of the same instances, and I don't need to continuously hear this stuff. And to be honest, the fights were very stale.
Yeah,
the gameplay was stale. I don't know.
The activities weren't that great either, because the activities were essentially just patrol spaces from Destiny.
But worse.
But worse, which is, an achievement. And also, another thing that I want to bring up with the First Descendant, I feel like every single trailer I've seen of this game just has like wildly different tone and narrative. I like never understand what is happening in this game.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, I'm with you, but I also think that the trailers do a disservice because the game doesn't feel like this. Like, I understand that that's what happens in a lot of these trailers, but this looks so cool. I have it up on screen. It looks amazing. I'm loving this right now, but that's not how it felt. It felt very empty and very, very bland, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah, 100%. I'm 100% with you, where the gameplay does not reflect that at all. I mean, look, when it comes out, I will give it a shot.
Same.
I will see what the final product looks like. But yeah, so far, the trailers have been dope. The playtests and everything have been kind of whatever.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Next is Light No Fire, the new game from Hello Games, where everyone said, hey, just have reasonable expectations this time. And he said, I have made Earth.
I love that.
Honestly, it looks gorgeous. It looks gorgeous. It's fascinating to me. The fact that it's like a 1-to-1, kind of like it is a planet. It is as large as a planet. I'm like,
now,
man.
Games have been saying things like this, not necessarily the scale, but I mean, like, whenever you hear this place is massive, this place is explorable, I wouldn't say it's normally empty, but there's always, like Zelda always did it right? With Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, you're always running into something, whether you're on the sky, whether you're on the mainland, whether you're in the depths, there's always something to run into and discover and find. If this game continues that, or goes down that route of there will be stuff there, or even where there's not something, at least it's big enough and it doesn't feel, I wouldn't say empty, because like if you go on a mountain, what do you expect to gain? But you got to find this balance between a game and respecting the player's time to, like, okay, is it impressive that it's a big world? Yes, but does it respect my time? Am I adventuring to this thing for a reason? Do I go to the top of the mountain and gain something from it? I mean, everything I see here looks like yes. If yes, then great game. Like, this is gonna captivate me because I am loving everything that I see. Period. Full stop.
Yeah.
How are we going to do this? Does it have to be a Minecraft, like it loads cells at a time or whatever? I mean, this is ambitious, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, No Man's Sky was ambitious, so these guys are no amateurs to it. The big question I have is the procedurally generated Earth the same for everybody, or like you said, is this a Minecraft where it's like it runs the generator every time you open a new seed, and that's what the map is going to be? Because if it is a 1-to-1 Earth that everyone is going to share, not necessarily MMO style, but like your save of the world and my save of the world are the same.
Yeah,
I think that's really interesting, because then over the course of
we'll be discovering more and more of it if it is
We'll be
this
discovering
large.
tons of stuff. Oh yeah, man! Over in this like part of the world, you know, you gotta like hop on your dragonfly for like a day or something like that, like to get to this crazy thing that we found over here, and that leads to this crazy thing over here. That'll be awesome. If it is just like procedurally generated, like every time you hit, you know, new save, it's like a brand new Earth. That's when I start getting more worried about kind of what you're saying, where it's like, am I just going to have a bunch of dead space? They're not really going to be a ton here. Whereas I feel like if they make an Earth that is kind of, it's procedural, but it's also curated, it is a singular planet, I think that'll go a really long way.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind it either way. I don't think I'd be worried either way, as long as it works. I mean, like I said, it's ambitious. So if it doesn't work, then you screwed us again. Because I mean, me and Pasta were looking forward to
again.
Right. I mean, everyone, but me and Pasta specifically. I think I'm pretty sure he showed it to me like 3 years before it even came out, and we were waiting for so long because that was like the hype. It was hype for us, and then all of a sudden it came out, and we heard nothing but bad things about it. So we were scared to purchase it, and we never did. And then we heard like 2 or 3 years later after that. So it's been 6 years since we even heard about it. Now it's good. Okay, well, that's fair, but it's a little too late for us because we don't really, I mean, we're playing other things now. But, I mean, Valheim took us over, and so I think Light No Fire could do the same thing if they've learned from their mistakes, which I'm sure they have. But they're saying something also just as, if not more ambitious. So we'll have to see. But it looks fantastic. If they deliver on all promises, take my money, because that looks gorgeous.
Yeah, definitely. Next up is Stormgate, which is the you wouldn't let us make StarCraft, so we went and made StarCraft.
We have StarCraft at home.
Yeah, we have StarCraft at home. This is gonna have Simu Liu in it apparently, which is, you know, interesting. But yeah, I mean, I love a good RTS. I'm super down to see what these guys are able to put out, especially since we haven't gotten a StarCraft-esque RTS in a very, very long time. And so, yeah, give it to me. I'm in.
I mean, just to touch on it, because I mean, I'm in too. We don't have to go too far into it, but do you think we're seeing the rock, paper, scissors format of gameplay, Zerg, Protoss, Terran? Are we going to see that, like a future race, a primal race, and a modern tech race? Or do we get an extra one? Is there a fourth one we don't really see coming here? I don't really see much here for it, but do we get that? And also, and obviously, we're getting a co-op. It looks like it says enlist your friends, so we get a co-op. We get PvP because they're not dumb. That's what that's what this game pretty much is going to be. Yeah. But then do we get custom games? Because I don't know if you played a lot of them, but man, StarCraft custom games were always so fun.
I feel like we will likely get all of that. I think these guys are pretty dialed into what their audience wants. This is one of those examples where like they probably couldn't make the next StarCraft because they wanted to give the audience everything they wanted,
and Blizzard didn't.
And Blizzard was like, "That's not going to make us money," and they're like, "Well, we don't care." So I feel like this is going to be pretty dialed into pretty much everything that they would want. Probably not going to, it's going to go early access first, so it's probably not going to have it all right off the jump of early access. But I think by the time you get the 1.0 release of this, yeah, I think you get anything that you would possibly want. From a StarCraft successor, I think you are going to get. I do think rock, paper, scissors is probably going to be the standard for at least early access. I would not be surprised, though. So many years have gone and so many different styles and takes on the rock, paper, scissors style RTS have come and gone over the years that I feel like you are going to have a lot of those lessons learned, which would make me not surprised that they do deviate from that formula a little bit more as you get closer to 1.0, especially if, like you said, there are going to be different species and stuff that you can play as beyond like the 3, having like a tech and then a creature and then a, kind of like middle ground. But yeah, I'm super excited. Give me more RTS stuff. I'm super down.
Absolutely. It's been a long time coming. We haven't had one in a while.
Last few things, we just got a few more at this point. There's a few that I took off because I just knew we weren't going to really have too much to say about it. But Final Fantasy 16 DLC, I mean, not much to say about this. I feel like I'm going to get there and I'm going to love it, and it's more Final Fantasy, and I will never ever complain about that.
Absolutely.
Then we got the finals Shadow Drop. We've already kind of talked about finals, so we don't have to
talk about that.
Monster Hunter Wilds. Now Monster Hunter Wilds looks awesome. I'm so disappointed in the 2025 release date. I thought we were like,
but let's be real. It's at the end of 2023. We could have just a year and a month for all we know.
If it doesn't get delayed, though, I don't know. Anytime I see release dates out that far, to me, I'm like, add a year.
Not because it's not only is it going to be delayed, but it's also they just give the year, they don't give the month. So yeah, you're right.
And so I feel like this is really a 2026 title, and I'm like, man, like at bare minimum, like 2.5 years. That's going to be a rough way. I legitimately thought we were like going to get this announcement and then game out in 6 months. So that's more on me for having those expectations and hopes. But still, I mean,
it looks great.
It looks phenomenal. It looks so good. The amount of creatures you have on screen too, like
I love riding of this Choco or whatever this is here. Like I love this.
Yeah, I absolutely love this. I will be here day one, and we've talked about it like at least like a half a dozen times at this point. But please, God, just make the online and the co-op better. I don't want to have to watch a cutscene and then invite my friends in. Please just make it seamless. I'm begging you.
Thank you, devs.
God, it looks so good.
It really does.
It looks so good, man. Capcom's killing it, man. They can't release a bad game right now, I swear. These last few we didn't really see like a ton of, but I still want to just kind of touch on them real quick. Den of Wolves, the new game from the GTFO guys. That looked really interesting. I mean, it is one of those trailers where like you get done watching it and you go like, what the fuck did I just watch? You know, like it doesn't really tell you anything about the game, but stylistically, I think it looks pretty cool. I'm just hoping that we get some gameplay sooner rather than later.
Right.
GTFO was one of those games I played like twice and I didn't understand it and I just died within the first 10 seconds. And
pretty much same.
Yeah. It's one that I would hope to go back to maybe one day, but yeah, probably not if I'm being real. See, like here, it almost seems like you're controlling like a robot and going in and doing all the killing or something. I don't know. Neat looking though.
Yeah.
Next is Black Myth Wukong.
We did touch on this a little bit, but
we did touch on this a little bit, so we can be brief. But looks dope. I mean, to me, this is like the first actual like AAA title that we're getting out of China.
Goes West story.
Yeah, it goes West. It's a Chinese developer, and so I'm very interested in seeing how this ends up turning out. You know, we've obviously gotten games from China, you know, stuff like Genshin and Honkai and all that kind of stuff coming out of China. But I feel like this is kind of their first, I don't know, like something's different about this one. This kind of feels like a big like coming out party as like a AAA like high tier title that's like really getting a lot of push behind it. That's not a gacha game.
I feel like a lot of dev companies that do these types of or that want to make these high narrative stories, they do it always in the Souls-like formula, and I don't think that's a bad move, but it's unfortunate for someone like me who I don't really care for the style. Maybe it might be a little bit easier than like the Elden Ring. I don't know what it is, man. I just couldn't get into Elden Ring. I played it for 6 hours. I couldn't get into it. I know the narrative is amazing. I know the world building is incredible, but I can't play it. And this, I hope I can play because it looks gorgeous.
Looking at this, I think the biggest thing that sets it apart to me from like a Souls game is Souls games are very, how do you say, I guess like very kind of stilted. Like combat is very like you press button and this exact animation is going to play. Like it's made to be read and not be stylistic, if that makes sense. Whereas this, I feel like bleeds style, which makes me think that this is going to probably be a little bit more forgiving because they want to make you, to me, this reads as we want to make you feel good. Whereas the Souls games, that's not really a priority for a lot of it. A lot of it is we want to make you feel kind of almost afraid in a way, or reserved. You know, we want you to be methodical. Whereas this kind of looks more like, no, we want you to feel like a badass from Myths, you know?
I hope so, because that's the selling point for someone like me. I just can't get into Elden Ring, and I want to. I really do. You know, I saw a video of a dude attach a dragon head to his arm, and he starts breathing fire out of the fucking necromantic dragon head. I'm all in on that, but I just can't play the game. And to be honest, I would love to see a Cuphead version of these types of games. Like, give me a Souls-like where it's just boss fights. I don't want to run around and kill 70 ghosts to level up and buy a new sword or whatever.
Honestly,
give me just a fucking boss fight sim. Give the people what they want. I mean, that's what Elden Ring is so supposedly all about anyway. Skip the middleman. Do it like Cuphead.
Honestly, not a bad idea. I honestly would be down for that too. Or if you can just kind of get me into those bosses, I'd be down for that. One thing I would be interested in, as a side note, I wonder if you would like Sekiro, one of the other games.
Some people have told me that.
I feel like that might end up being more of your jam, because I feel like it kind of fixes some of that from the Souls games. I'd be interested in seeing you play that at some point.
We'll see. It's on sale.
Senua Saga 2.
It's called Monster Hunter.
It's called Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Senua Saga 2. I can't believe we still don't have a release date, just a release year.
What was it?
This game better come
How do you spell it?
Senuas.
There we go. Oh, Hellblade 2. Yeah.
This game looks so gorgeous, though. I mean, like, they've obviously taken their time with this, and it looks insane. I want it so bad. I'm tired of hearing about it at this point. I'm like, just give it to me. I just want the game at this point.
Why does this remind me so much of Horizon? Do they use the same tech? Because I mean, it looks very similar on the mocap and the environment.
No, they don't use the same tech, but they are from the same region, so they might use some of the same mocap studios or something like that. But yeah, if you guys have not played Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, I mean, I highly recommend it. I've
never even heard of it until this Game Awards.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Man. It is a very, very good game. I highly recommend it to almost everybody. It's not too long. It's like under 10 hours, I think. Maybe 15.
The combat looks a lot heavier, which I wouldn't normally like, but I did really like For Honor, and the combat seems reminiscent of that. It looks slower paced, heavier.
Yeah, the combat is very chunky, very, very chunky. Like, you feel kind of the heft of everything. And then that's kind of the main things. I mean, there's God of War DLC, which looks awesome.
Yep.
I kind of put that to the side. Not really much to say about that. And a lot of this other stuff, there was like the Gundam game, which, it's Gundam. Yeah, other than that, I think that's about everything that we wrote down that looked really interesting. Oh, there was that one trailer for that Banisher's Ghost of New Eden that's coming out next year. That looks really interesting to me. That was the one where they're like holding hands and doing that chant where they're like death to the dead, life to the living and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that game has the potential to be extremely good or very middling. It probably won't be bad, but it seems like that type of game where it tries like for some high concept ideas and then doesn't really nail it. So I'm a little hesitant on it, but yeah, that was the Game Awards. And let me tell you, from an announcement perspective, I mean, we got a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we just talked for like an hour and 30 minutes about it. Like, we got a lot of really,
and we didn't even cover all of it.
Yeah,
there is one thing we missed that I do want to little nod to, and just because it ties in to something I absolutely love and someone I absolutely love, and then what we talked about earlier was VR. That Tales of Asgard game looks fantastic. It's a VR game.
Oh, right, yeah, dude.
It looked really good. We did talk about that, Jarrett.
Yeah, that was actually really good. Where I'm surprised that they could show me a VR game trailer and make me go, I kind of want that.
Yeah, I mean, and I of course I love our Lord and Savior Master Mercer. So I that was just a little shout out for me, but it looked great. So might have to bust out the old VR.
And like I said, I'm getting closer and closer every day to scooping it up. So I'm ready. I'm into it.
Yeah. And that's the show, I guess, right?
I think that's all we got. That was the show. Baldur's Gate 3 won, as we suspected. And yeah, that was about all we got.
Yeah. I can say, so if you guys want, I will probably be uploading this VOD to the YouTube channel. If you literally just go to YouTube and type in damage check, we are the first and the only thing that pops up. So go check us out. So go subscribe. If you're missing any episodes, have them on in the background. We have a playlist for everything. This will be a weekly thing. We're here live every Saturday. The upload should be every Sunday or Monday on YouTube. Just don't forget to check us out and help us out. So yeah.
Yep. And did you mention our Twitter as well?
We do have a Twitter. Yeah, you can go to Twitter. If you guys have X or Twitter, you can follow us there. Yeah, we're on as Damage Check Pod, I believe.
Yep. So if ever we have a change in schedule or anything like that, you can always find us there.
Yep. And that's it.
That's it. GG's.
GG's. See you guys. Have a good one.